Welcome to This Explainer. When we look at charming, historic neighborhoods, we usually just see the beautiful architecture and all that classic character. But beneath those gorgeous floorboards and right behind that original plaster, there's often a disaster just waiting to happen. Today, we're zooming in specifically on Somerville, Massachusetts, to really unpack how unique geographical and structural quirks create an absolute perfect storm for water disasters and exactly what professionals do to mitigate that massive risk. Picture this. It's 3 a.m. in Davis Square. You're sound asleep, and suddenly, you hear it, the rush of water. We need to uncover exactly why aging urban architecture is practically a ticking time bomb for catastrophic water damage. See, in dense housing stocks like we find in historic cities, a simple leak doesn't just stay a simple leak. No way. It becomes a massive structural emergency in literally a matter of minutes. But why? What is it about these specific buildings that turns a minor plumbing hiccup into a multi-level crisis? All right, so here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover Somerville's unique water risks, the anatomy of a water emergency, the three-step restoration process, and finally, the science of drying.
Let's jump straight into Section 1, Somerville's unique water risks.
So the very charm of a classic New England triple-decker? Yeah, it's often its biggest Achilles heel. I mean, think about it. Shared plumbing means one burst pipe on the third floor equals a 3-story waterfall, completely saturating ceilings and floors all the way down to the basement. On top of that, parts of Somerville literally sit right in a basin near the Mystic River. When you get those heavy spring thaws combining with rain, the aging storm drains are just easily overwhelmed, sending water backing up right into the shallow crawl spaces and low-lying basements of the surrounding neighborhoods.
But wait, it gets crazier. It's not just the layout, it's the actual bones of the buildings. We really have to consider how older construction elements behave when they get wet. Historic homes frequently feature horsehair plaster. And let me tell you, that stuff acts like a giant sponge, absorbing and holding massive amounts of water. Combine that with balloon framing, which is this older construction method where the wall cavities run entirely open from the basement all the way up to the roof, and you essentially have a hollow chimney. This lets water from a roof leak or a third-floor pipe travel vertically and saturate structural timbers almost instantly. It's wild.
Moving right along to Section 2, the anatomy of a water emergency.
Now, we absolutely have to differentiate between external weather threats, like a flooded basement from overwhelmed storm drains, and internal infrastructure failures. Internal failures are the ones that catch us entirely off guard. We're talking about a 15-year-old water heater silently dumping 50 gallons while you sleep. I mean, that's like emptying a massive fish tank into your living room. Or think about Massachusetts' brutal freeze-thaw cycles, stressing an old cast-iron pipe in an unheated attic until it finally just snaps. Both scenarios are incredibly destructive, but they require entirely different immediate responses.
And here is a number you absolutely need to remember: 24 to 48 hours. This timeline is absolutely critical, because that is exactly how fast toxic mold begins to grow once a structure is saturated. Wood floors will begin to warp and buckle, and drywall will just weaken and crumble apart. This means every single minute literally counts. If you wait until the morning to deal with a 3 a.m. flood, well, you've already given secondary damage a massive head start.
So how do we fix it? Let's look at Section 3, the three-step restoration process. Fixing a disaster like this isn't just about grabbing a mop and bucket. It is a very strict operational sequence. It starts with Step 1, immediate extraction to stop the active damage. Then, Step 2, exhaustive structural drying to hunt down hidden moisture. And finally, Step 3, complete reconstruction to rebuild the damaged drywall, plaster, and floors right back to their pre-loss condition. It's really a highly coordinated dance.
And guys, please forget about your household shop vac and throw in a couple of flimsy box fans around. Stopping this level of destruction requires heavy machinery. Professional crews roll up with these massive truck-mounted extractors capable of pumping thousands of gallons per hour. They deploy thermal imaging cameras that can see straight through drywall to locate cold pockets of trapped water. Then they bring in heavy-duty commercial dehumidifiers and industrial air movers. It is a massive leap from a weekend DIY cleanup, for sure.
Which brings us right to Section 4, the science of drying.
Now, you might think drying a floor sounds kind of mundane, right? Actually, scratch that. It's a highly regulated, precise science. Professional restoration requires strict adherence to something called the IICR Sub 500 codes. So why does this matter to you?
because Massachusetts insurance companies require work to follow these exact standards so that your claims actually get approved. If a contractor isn't following the S500 guidelines for drying goals and timelines, the insurance adjuster might just reject the claim outright, leaving you stuck with the bill and a half-dried house. Nobody wants that.
Part of those strict standards involves carefully categorizing the water itself. Technicians have to figure out what they're dealing with. Category 1. That's clean water, like from a broken supply line. Category 2 is gray water, so maybe a washing machine overflow that has some contaminants in it. But Category 3? Yeah, that's black water. Sewage backups or storm floodwater carrying really dangerous pathogens. You don't just dry this out, you rip it out, the whole shebang. Black water requires highly rigorous safety and sanitization protocols, meaning porous materials have to be completely removed.
So once the actual standing water is gone, how do you prove the bones of the house are truly dry? To prove a building is totally safe, professionals rely on thermal imaging cameras and pinpoint moisture meters to hunt down hidden moisture pockets trapped inside those balloon frame wall cavities we talked about earlier. They literally create a physical moisture map of the home to track the daily progress. Just surface drying isn't enough. The moisture content of the structural framing lumber has to perfectly match baseline dry conditions.
And oh boy, let's not forget the paperwork. Beyond the physical cleanup, there's a massive administrative operation happening in the background. On the insurance side, crews are sending daily moisture logs, detailed moisture maps, and extensive photo documentation straight to adjusters to prove the work is necessary and effective. On the state side, any reconstruction over $1,000 requires a Massachusetts construction supervisor license, not to mention general liability and workers' comp. It's a lot of red tape, but all of this bureaucracy is a highly regulated environment designed entirely to protect you, the homeowner.
So, we've unpacked the hidden vulnerabilities, the terrifying speed of a water emergency, and the extreme science required to actually fix it. Knowing how fast mold grows and how incredibly strict the science of drying truly is, the next time you hear a random creak in your floorboards or a faint drip in the walls of your charming historic home, you really have to ask yourself, is it just an old house settling, or is it the start of a 48-hour countdown? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I hope you leave today with a much sharper eye for the hidden risks in the buildings all around us.